Hey, rock stars, you've heard the show, implemented some of the lessons, and still you want more. How about a one-on-one 3-month personalized coaching program with me, Kelly Kennedy? We'll work together to establish an effective business development program, overcome obstacles, and accomplish your growth goals in 2024. To book your free discovery call today, shoot me an email at podcast@capitalbd.ca or book coaching directly from my LinkedIn profile. Book your discovery call now and take that next step in your journey towards success. Your future starts today. Welcome to episode 161 of the Business Development Podcast, and it is my absolute honor today to do community questions August 2024. Stick with us. This is an amazing episode.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 161 of the Business Development Podcast. My gosh, crossed the 160 mark, and here we go. 200, here we come. Man, it's amazing. I'm so thankful to be on this journey, guys. And today is no exception because I get to do one of my favorite shows, guys. Something that I hope one day becomes a main part of this show, if not, frankly, its own show at some point, which is just the community questions aspect, guys. I'm so honored. We get to do an August community questions. We haven't done one since March, so yeah, I've been itching for it a little bit. So I'm excited to be on here today. I'm excited to be doing what I love, which is helping people with business development with their own specific challenges. And remember, guys, with our community questions episodes, it is anonymous unless you give me permission to do so. Today, I only got permission from one of the submitters, so that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. I have no issue whatsoever doing anonymous. I know, especially when we're working in the executive realm, people that have expressed fears of potentially asking questions and in their mind sounding dumb, or in their mind having a colleague or a boss or someone like that see it. And I can totally understand, guys. First off, there are no stupid questions. There's just questions. It's totally okay. But two, I completely respect your privacy. I completely understand where you're coming from. And so if you want to submit questions to us anonymously, that is totally okay. Just let me know when you submit it that you would prefer to stay on a first name basis only. And we will do that for you guys. I respect privacy on this show. I totally understand. You know, I've been high level too, and I've definitely had moments where I didn't want to be out there. And if that's you, that's okay. We still appreciate the questions, and long term, we still want to answer them for you. So as we go into today's show, I just want to start with a show update. Guys, we have crossed 210,000 downloads. My gosh, in just a little over 18 months. It absolutely blows my mind. The support on this show, guys, is next level. We could not have come this far without you. I could not continue to do this show without you. I am so appreciative, and I can't wait to roll over 500,000. I'm going to keep pushing hard until we get there. And guys, I need your help to do this. Please tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever the heck you want, shout our name from the rooftops, because that's how we grow, right? You guys are my 20-story skyscraper, and I need you guys to shout our name, but I appreciate it. The reality is podcasts grow by word of mouth. And my rock stars out there, I know you guys got us, so I appreciate it. Every person you tell is one more rock star to add to our list, and I appreciate it immensely, guys. Could not do it without you. We're sitting at 2,527 followers between Apple Podcasts and Spotify, guys. We have rolled over the 2,500 mark. We'll be crushing 3,000 here shortly. If you listen to this show and you have not yet followed us on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, please take a minute today, give us that follow. It helps us a million, guys. The more follows we get, the more Spotify, Apple Podcasts recommends us to the world. And so I appreciate it immensely. I know it seems like a tedious thing. There's a lot of shows that I listened to forever that I didn't follow, but guys, I do it for them now. And I would appreciate it if you would do that for us. It really does help us, and we could not do it without you. LinkedIn, guys, if you are looking for all of the BDP data, who the heck is coming on the show over the coming month, we post all of our guests for the month at the beginning of the month. So if you want to come on over, follow our LinkedIn page. We got lots of stuff going on there, clips from upcoming shows, clips from guests that I've just interviewed. I make sure that I put it all up there for you. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, but we are really heavily invested into LinkedIn, guys. That's my world. So I appreciate my LinkedIn crew, my LinkedIn rock stars. And so please do come follow us on LinkedIn. Follow me personally, Kelly Kennedy. I would appreciate it immensely. And for those of you who want to submit community questions for the next community questions episode, shoot them on over to podcast@capitalbd.ca. Or shoot me a message on LinkedIn and just say, hey, Kelly, I have a question for an upcoming community questions episode, and list it out there. Give me all the information and I will make sure that we handle it for you on an upcoming episode. If you want your name drop, that's totally cool. I don't mind shouting you from the rooftops, but give me permission to do so. Say, Kelly, you have my permission to use my name. That's all I need. If I do not have permission to use your name, it will not be used. It'll just be a first name basis only. And lastly, guys, I just want to thank each and every one of our listeners for supporting us to this point, guys. 161 episodes could not happen without you, without our amazing fan base, without your encouragement, your support, your kind words. Guys, it means the world to me. Thank you to each and every one of you who have ever reached out to me on this show and just let me know how it's impacted your life. Let me know what it's done for you. It really does help me to keep coming back week over week, month over month, year over year, guys. It really does. That motivation helps us to keep going, helps me to stay motivated, and I sure appreciate it. So thank you to all of the listeners of the show. Thank you to everybody who's ever given me an encouraging comment or left me a message. This show is for you guys. Our very first question is from listener Aaron James Russell. And Aaron is transitioning to the private sector after 23 years as a British Army communications engineer. Super, super cool, Aaron. That's absolutely amazing. And I'm very excited for you. I hope it really goes awesome. Aaron asks, what is the biggest asset that a career subject matter expert can bring to the BD field? Aaron, what a great question. And we talked about this briefly because I did reach back out to Aaron because I knew it was going to be a minute before we could do this show. And I reached back out to Aaron and I said, look, the one thing that you can bring to any field, especially if you're a subject matter expert in it, is a complete understanding of the value proposition of your product. I've talked about this on the show a lot. And what I've kind of talked about is you can do business development for just about anything, but most business development specialists are not subject matter experts. They know enough to be dangerous. We know enough to be dangerous. We know enough to build interest to get us to the point where we can have that discussion. And yeah, over time, we might become close to a subject matter expert, but there's usually somebody who understands it better than us because our job really is to build enough interest in a product to take it to a conversation, to take it to next steps in a meeting. And obviously at some point, RFP, RFQ, whatever. But usually there is a subject matter expert with us. Whenever I'm working for a client, I like to bring the client, the one who actually knows the insides and outs of their product and service and can speak to it on a technical level. A subject matter expert can do that. And so if you are also in BD, Aaron, it is like having a superpower. It is a huge leg up that most BD people do not have. So understand, it is a huge advantage to be a subject matter expert in something that you are selling. It really does take it to the next level. And if you combine the BD skills with the subject matter expertise, you are going to be able to close a lot more deals. You're going to be able to speak technically to the product and service, which will give you that superpower edge that you need. Aaron also asked, what is the biggest pitfall to avoid? And the reason that he asked this is kind of twofold, is that he's like, okay, I'm a subject matter expert, I'm coming in, but like, how does that potentially disadvantage me? And my answer to you, Aaron, is really the same challenge that just about anybody who ends up in BD is. Don't wait for things to come to you, right? If you have to sit around and wait for somebody to come to you, which is what a lot of people do, you're going to be waiting a long time. And frankly, you can't afford to wait a long time. Waiting for like a trade show to make connections or waiting for the phone to ring inbound. Guys, this is the biggest mistake that I'm seeing right now in sales and business development, right? It's a fear of active marketing, right? And you guys know I talk about this on the show all the time. Active marketing is king. It's absolutely everything. You have to be looking for that next opportunity always. You have to be out there doing your digital introductions, creating your target lists, making direct contact by phone or email, and asking for a meeting, getting in front of these people to really build that connection, build that opportunity to get that RFP, RFQ, bid list, vendor list, whatever you guys are after. But if you guys are sitting around and waiting, that is the worst thing that you possibly can do, because you're going to be waiting. You're putting all the responsibility on somebody else to do that for you, and you're going to get them in their worst moment while they're reaching out to literally all your competitors at the same time. This is not what you want. You want to get ahead of the need. And so, Aaron, the best thing that you can do is to start an active marketing system. Start really looking to get in touch with the stakeholders at the companies that you actually want to work with and start to build those connections today. Don't wait for them to come to you. Get ahead of the need and cash in once they have that need, because they know who you are, they've met with you, and they want your product and service. And one last thing on this subject, Aaron, is that don't give up too soon, right? One or two calls, it's not enough. It's not enough. Most business development people are giving up after 2 direct reach outs, guys. On average, it takes around 8. In our experience, I would say 11. It can be anywhere, right? Like, we've found that consistently with smaller clients, it can take 11. With larger clients, it can take upwards of 30 direct reach outs before you get that meeting. I know it sounds crazy, but when you're dealing with some of the biggest companies on earth and they're getting 1,000 reach outs from vendors every single day, every single week, 2 calls ain't going to cut it. 2 just isn't going to do it. Give yourself at least 10. Give yourself the opportunity to reach out at least 10 before you give up on that client. That is going to lead to more success over time, guys. Most of us are giving up too soon. That's one of the biggest challenges that I see, and one of the biggest pitfalls that I would try to avoid. Thank you, Aaron. That was absolutely amazing. I appreciated your reach out. I appreciated your candor, and I wish you the best of luck as you transition from the military into the private sector. That's absolutely amazing. Good for you. Our next question is from a listener named Mindy. And Mindy asked, a lot of us are struggling with the hook of our subject lines on our emails. What does it matter if you have the best written email ever if nobody looks at it? Mindy, that's an absolutely amazing question. And I'll be honest, one that I don't think that I can answer perfectly for you, because it's not a science. It's like an art. It's like doing the right thing at the right time for the right person. She's also considering that she probably doesn't have a direct contact with this person, which I get it. Like, when you're doing BD, we probably have never met this person before. We don't know anything about them. What we're trying to do is get them to engage with our email. And my advice, Mindy, would be to keep it short and sweet. This is really my advice for just about anything. But try to keep your subject line short and sweet. Here's the deal. I can tell you right now from my own experience that if I look at a subject line and it's like, I don't know, 10 words, whatever, I pretty much automatically know it's spam, because only spammers do that, right? I think the shorter the wording or the shorter the tag, but keeping it relevant, is probably your absolute best option on this front. You could consider using something like ChatGPT and just say, hey, here's what my email is about. Could you give me a subject line in as short of words as possible? That might be a great prompt to go with, because we really want to say as much as we can in as little words as humanly possible with just about everything. With our digital introductions on LinkedIn, with our subject lines, heck, even with our email. If we can say it with less, we almost always should. It's just easier to receive. They're more likely to read the whole email. They're more likely to read the whole message. You don't come across like a spammer. You don't come across like you're selling them anything. Trying to be personal, but short, sweet, to the point, I think is incredibly, incredibly effective in business development and sales in any type of outbound. So my advice in this particular case, and keep in mind, Mindy, that obviously to just say this is the line to use would be almost impossible, right? It's going to be very specific. We don't know how that's going to be received. But what I can say is, Mindy, trial and error, some short and to the point subject lines, something that's got a little bit of a hook or a catch in it, but also something that's maybe more personal. I think that will come across better for you than anything longer or anything too formal. Try to keep it short, sweet, to the point, and let me know. I think you're going to have success with it. Thanks, Mindy. That was an absolutely amazing question. And Mindy's been a long-time listener of the show. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And our next questions are from a listener named David. David has been an incredible long-time listener of the show. He's been with us for a super long time. I feel like I've been messaging back and forth with David for like a year at this point, David. And so I just wanted to say before I did this one, he didn't give me permission to use the whole name. That's totally cool. I'm sure he wouldn't mind, but I'm not going to do that to him. But David, I just want to say I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you for the encouraging words, the kind support along the way. It is listeners like you who make this journey worth doing. And just want to say, dude, appreciate you. Thank you for all you do. And I hope these answer your questions. David left us 4 questions today. And his first question was, and I love this one, David. This is like one of the best questions because I think there's a lot of people out here who have the exact same one. And remember that, guys. Like, the reality about community questions is if you have this question, probably so do 1,000 other people. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, it is really important to ask these questions, to put them out to the world. Even if you think they're silly, even if you think they're stupid, they're not. There's probably 1,000 other people who have those same questions. So anything on business development, entrepreneurship, I will do my best to help you guys out because I love doing these questions. I really do. All right. David's first question is, for someone who has a small side business and still works full time, what steps would you take to fully transition to my side business? Should I work on building my network, quit, and then jump in with both feet? Or should I slowly build clients until it makes sense? My gosh, here's the funny thing is, at least you're thinking about this, right? Understand, most of us, I don't know, maybe not most of us, but a lot of us didn't get to make this choice, David. A lot of us ended up without a job or got kind of the heads up like, hey, your job is probably going away at the end of this month. You have a plan, which was kind of what happened to me. And so I really did have to jump in with both feet. The cool thing with my story is the boss I had was absolutely amazing. I'd worked with him for an incredibly long time and he paid me a nice severance. And on top of that, he offered me my first contract, which thank God bridged that gap for me to make my transition much, much easier. I understand that is not the situation for everybody. Sometimes that happens and you just got to pull the trigger, but at least you're in a position right now where you are working full time. It's pretty steady from the sounds of it, and you have a choice. I think you have to make a choice, David, and it's not going to be an easy choice. It's not an easy choice for anyone. I've heard burn the ships. We actually had Chantal Cote. So if you're listening to this episode, David, Chantal Cote, she was one of my recent guests. I can't think of the exact episode, but find her episode. And she talks about her transition into starting her own practice. And she mentioned burn the ship. She really did jump in with both feet. And on a certain level, I can see that being effective because if you don't have any options but to succeed, you're really going to work that much harder to do it. However, I'm not sure that I completely agree with this. The reason being is that I didn't technically have to do this. I didn't have a burn the ships moment. I had a, hey, we're going to transition you essentially from employee to contractor, and here's a little bit of a cash pillow to help you out. So for me, I had that transition. Even though it wasn't like that, it was like that, if that makes sense. And you know what, David? I will tell you, the transition was nice. The transition was nice. And the reason that the transition is nice is because it gives you that security. And especially, you know, like we have families, we have people that rely on us. We probably have mortgages, right? Like you can't just jump without a plan. So unless you have money in the bank, unless you have enough money, I would say to give you, say, 6 months of peace, right? If you have enough money to give you 6 months of peace, jumping in with both feet, totally an option for you. And if you really want to do this, if you really want to go out on your own and you're confident you can, then do it, dude. But if you don't have that cash pillow, if it could put you in a financially devastating situation, and understand, David, that starting a business never happens at our pace, right? Like every entrepreneur will tell you it happens much slower than you planned. Almost everything has taken me longer. Almost everything. Almost everything I've planned, dude, has taken me longer than I wished it would have by a lot. And you typically don't see the opportunity coming until it's right on your doorstep. And people will say, make all the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plans in the world. And you know what? I'm not saying don't do that. I think it's a great idea. What I'm saying is things rarely go to plan. They really do, especially when you're forecasting out a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. It can be daunting. Business really seems to happen for me 3 months at a time. That's typically how it works. And you don't always see the opportunities coming, right? You can have the plan, you can work towards the plan, but typically the opportunity coming, you won't see it coming, and it could be absolutely amazing. The secret is to be there and to be able to say yes when it does happen. How you go about doing that is totally up to you, dude. And I would say that if you are comfortable right now, if you have a great job, it's not going anywhere, and you have the option to pace this thing out, to build the connections, to find the opportunities to do this thing after work or on the side or on the weekends until you are to a point where you're like, okay, I got this. I can take this leap and I won't financially devastate myself overnight. Then I would say that's probably a great move to do. I would recommend that. But if you already have the money, once again, I don't know your financial situation. If you have the money in the bank, if you have 6 months of savings, and you really are passionate about this idea, you're passionate about this company, and you're ready to jump in both feet entrepreneurship, I think you'll be incredibly successful. The reality is, I think you'll be incredibly successful either way. You just decide what you are most comfortable with, and that is going to be what's best for you over time. That was a great question, David. My gosh, I don't know if you could tell, it's a hard one to answer. Some of these questions are, man. Like, the reality is I can only give you my best advice from my own experience, right? And that's for all of you. I can only give you advice from my own experience. And yeah, in that particular case, I like to be safe. I like to play it as safe as humanly possible. Entrepreneurship is not always safe, but you can at least mitigate. And when you can mitigate, I say mitigate. All right, David's next question is, how do I find a niche that's big enough to continuously find work, but not too narrow to be considered a generalist? If I remember correctly, David's asking about web design. I could be wrong on this, but I believe he has a web development company. Now, David, if you're trying to narrow in on like what is the best type of industry or company to work for, once again, you're really going to find this out through trial and error. I would say 90% of business, David, is trial and error, right? Like people talk about failure all the time. Oh, I failed at this, or we didn't get this. The funny thing is, and the thing you're not missing with all the failure is all the lessons they're learning along the way, right? You might try web design for, a cement company and realize, cement companies aren't my thing. But down the line from that cement company, someone at, a geotechnical company reaches out and it's like, hey, like, can you help me? Like, I see you did this cement company. And you realize, holy crap, like geotechnical is awesome. There's lots of geotechnical companies. This could work out perfect for me. You may have failed at cement, but then you found your niche at geotechnical. However, you would not have found your niche at geotechnical if you wouldn't have failed at cement. Do you understand? There is no right or wrong answer here. Most of the things you're going to learn through business, how you're going to identify and find your niche, is by failing at something else and finding it some other way. Like, I really do believe in this, David. You have to try almost everything to figure out what is the niche. What's the thing you're passionate about? How can you know what you're passionate about? How can you know what you'll be the best at if you don't first figure out what you're not passionate about, or maybe what you're not the best at? Okay. That's the secret. The secret to finding what you want is being open to all opportunity, figuring out what you liked, figuring out what you didn't like, and doing as much of what you like as you humanly can. That is the secret, man. There is no like, I need to identify this niche ahead of time. You can try, absolutely. Once again, mark my words, you can try, definitely. And if you're able to, great. If you know what you love and you can really narrow in and be like, yeah, I want to do web design for nonprofits, whatever, right? Figure out what you love. But understand that to find out what you love, you might have to figure out what you don't love first. And how do you figure out what you don't love? You say yes to projects until you realize the one you didn't love doing and the one you did love doing. So don't narrow yourself off in the beginning, especially when you're launching your company. I want you to be open to opportunity because I think you might be surprised at what you find your niche to be. It might be something you couldn't have even seen coming. And actually, more than likely, it's something you couldn't have even seen coming because in my experience in business, that is what happens. Almost always something comes out of left field and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Where did this come from? That is what happens. It's very strange. And I've talked to enough entrepreneurs at this point to tell you it happens to them too. The craziest, most awesome clients you'll ever have, you won't even see them coming. They will come completely out of left field and it will change your world. The secret is simply to be ready to receive that opportunity. David's third question is, and once you find that opportunity, how do you find potential clients in that niche on LinkedIn? Amazing. This is a great question, David. I love this because tracking down the right people on LinkedIn is absolutely amazing and I love doing it. And it's never been easier. The best news I have for you on this is finding the right stakeholders who can buy your product and service once you identify the industry and the companies you want to work at has never, ever been easier. He had asked specifically, like, how do you know who to reach out to? Is it like the CFO or the CEO? You're going to find out because of clients you've worked at and what positions you've dealt with. So once you've locked down your first 2 or 3 clients in a specific industry, you're going to know who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with the president? Are you dealing with the marketing manager? Are you talking with the CTO? Right? You're going to start to identify who are the right people buying your product at the clients you're already working at. Then you can figure out who to reach out to at the particular companies that you want to work with. But understand, like, it's not that challenging. You're going to find out faster than you think who the right people are at an organization who buy your web design services, okay? Once you identify who that is, it's a LinkedIn search of that position and the location you want to work at away from you being able to connect with 100 people a week in that position, introducing your company, introducing yourself and saying, hey, do you guys need some support? Man, like, it is easier than you think. You will figure it out very, very quickly. And once you do, absolutely, you want to use LinkedIn effectively to connect with these individuals and then move it into the 5-step system, right? And then what do I mean, guys, just by the 5-step system, just for those of you who maybe you're new to the show, the 5-step system, we want to create a target list, identify the target, identify the right person, send a digital introduction, move them into direct contact stage, follow up weekly until we either disqualify or get the meeting, rinse and repeat, guys. That is the secret. It's not hard. Business development is not complicated. What it takes is process and consistency over time. Process, discipline, consistency over time leads to effective long-term results. There's no 2 ways about it. If you make the calls, you send the emails, you ask for the meetings, you are going to get meetings, okay? Trust me on this, guys. I've been doing this long enough to tell you there's no magic bullet here. There's nothing that is going to replace that active marketing outbound to get you in the room with the people who can buy your products and services, okay? If you're sitting around and waiting, you're waiting for the perfect day. You got to get them on their worst possible day. And the problem with getting somebody on their worst possible day is they're shopping you and everyone else in town. You are just racing to the bottom. But if you can get to know these people ahead of their need, if you can introduce your product and service ahead of the need, when that need comes up, they're going to remember you and they're going to want to work with you. All right. And David's fourth and final question. David said something that, man, touches my heart, dude. He goes, Kelly, you say on the show you're introverted. And he goes, I'm an introvert just like you, man. What steps have you taken to overcome your networking anxiety? Oh, dude, you know what's funny, man? In 160 episodes, this is the first time that someone has come to me and said, hey, me too. I'm introverted as well. Like, so thank you. First off, thank you, man. And I know, like, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to say that, especially when you're in a business development position, because people just look at business development and think, well, these people are so outward. Like they just network automatically. It must be so easy for them, right? Let me tell you, it is not easy for most of us. Actually, I would say a lot of business development people are actually introverted. And what it takes, dude, is just some bravery. And I know that sucks. That's not exactly what you were hoping for, I think. But the funny thing is, I still get nervous. You put me in a room with 40, 50 people, I still get nervous, man. I've been doing this forever. I still get nervous. But you know what I do? I give myself a little pep talk. I say a little prayer and I just get out there and I just introduce myself and I start conversations. And the cool thing about doing this is that over time, yeah, the first couple are hard, but after a little bit of time, it gets easier and easier and easier and easier, right? And the secret to overcoming anxiety, imposter syndrome, it really is to just put yourself in that situation as often as you can and feel the uncomfortable feelings and get through them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable, okay? Let me just start that for sure, right? Like the way you feel is how you feel in that moment, and that is completely okay. Feel the feeling, say, I get it. I feel scared. I'm feeling the anxiety. I'm feeling the discomfort, the immense discomfort, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do a great job. And just give yourself that little pep talk. Feel the feeling. Say, you know what? It's okay that I'm feeling this way, but I'm just going to go do it anyway. That is the secret. The secret to success is not to be not afraid. We're all afraid. We're all feeling that stress. We're all feeling that anxiety. I talked to a former news anchor who said she still gets nervous before she goes up and does public speeches. She literally teaches public speaking now. We all feel that way. We all feel the stress. We all feel the anxiety. We all feel the imposter syndrome. The secret is to say, it's okay that I'm feeling this thing, but I'm going to go do it anyway. That's what true bravery is. It's not being afraid. It's being afraid and doing it anyway. David, you got this, man. If I got this, if I can do it, you can do it. And I say that to each and every one of you out there who deal with anxiety, who deal with performance anxiety, who deal with imposter syndrome. Guys, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I still get nervous. I still have hard days. I still get scared. But what I realize is when I'm scared or when I'm feeling those moments, I know I need to do more of that because I need to work on that. That's something I need to work on. And so, David, you got this, man. Trust me. You're never going to not feel it. The secret is to feel it and do it anyway. And I think you'll find that when you start to do that, when you start to push your own boundaries a little bit, you're going to find it wasn't as scary as you thought. And most of the time, that is what happened to me. So I wish you the best of luck, man. I wish I had a magic bullet for it. There is no magic bullet. The magic bullet is to feel your feelings and come out the other side stronger than ever, man. But you got this. I totally believe in you. And I just want to say thank you for writing. Thank you for being on my side. Thank you for supporting this show, David. We couldn't do it without people like you. All right, guys, that takes us to the end of our community questions episode. Once again, if you enjoyed the show, and I sure did, I really appreciate it, guys. And if you want to send me questions, once again, podcast@capitalbd.ca, or reach out to me on LinkedIn with a question. Happy to put it into the file. And hopefully we'll get to do another one of these in September because I really do enjoy them. But we want to get probably 5 to 10 questions somewhere in there per show. So if you want to shoot us questions, you're welcome to shoot us more than one. Podcast@capitalbd.ca. Shout outs this week: Tara Behrens, Rodney Lover, Elsie Fienard, Aaron Hurst, Robert Pearl, Raheem Velji, Steve Campbell, Danielle Sonnenberg, Jack Schaefer, Amelia Sordell, Mickey Pendergast, Colin Harms, Jason Garner, Carmen Leibel, Mindy K. McRae Broadbent, Vijay Swaminathan, David Delvin, Jonathan D'Souza, Damon Pistolka, Araj Pervani, and Chloe Wu. Until next time, this has been the Business Development Podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.